So our next session brings a fresh and powerful perspective to one of today's most relevant topics, how uniting generations in the workplace is the key to unlocking engagement and sustainable growth. We're thrilled to welcome Mimi Nicklin, internationally best-selling author, CEO, and founder of Empathy Everywhere, the world's widest-reaching empathy training and engagement platform. She's a globally recognized thought leader, executive coach, and award-winning advocate for empathy in leadership. Whether on her top-rated podcast, Mimi Yuyu, or live on the BBC to over 85 million viewers, Mimi's message is clear. Empathy is not a soft skill, it's a powerful skill. Please join me in welcoming Mimi Nicklin to the stage for an inspiring session. Mimi, you are standing between everybody here and lunch, so I'm going to have to police you even more. But good luck.
Hello, good afternoon. And I am very aware that I am here right before your lunch. But today's session is about leading in open spaces. So I'm going to ask you to listen to me with an open mind. I specialize in the role of empathy in our world. And today I'm going to look at what that means in terms of understanding the huge diversity of people that are in here right now, but that are in Oman, across the country, and in every business that you lead. But here's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. We have a really big problem. It's worth $8.8 trillion. And that is equal to nearly 9% of global GDP. Now, this figure is the estimated loss in productivity due to three things: disengagement, presenteeism, and disconnection. Disengagement, not being engaged in your work. Presenteeism, turning up at 9, going home at 5, but doing nothing else. And disconnection, being in rooms full of people, but feeling like you don't really belong. And today we've heard about those themes. We've heard about belonging. We've heard about intergenerational leadership and the role of emotional intelligence. The impact on this is disintegrating our business success. It's impacting every business and how you perform. And as you heard in that intro, this is never a soft skill. What I'm talking about in this session is how you can lead your businesses, your people, and your success. So let me tell you a little bit about the cost of that. There's a really big number, right? For the time that I'm on the stage, I won't be here a whole hour. I will be half an hour. But in the next hour, this region will lose $50 million due to that disengagement. Because our people, your people, are not engaged in their work. They don't feel like they belong there. They don't think that you're listening, that you're interested in their opinion. And let me show you what that looks like around the world. And I'm sorry to look backwards, but my screens are off, so I can't see my slides here. I can only see them here. 76% of people, that's 2/3 of this room, right? 2/3 of you, statistically, are disengaged. Imagine your team. Close your eyes for a minute and imagine your team, and imagine that 75% of them don't really care about their work. Imagine the impact on your bottom line. 55%, so half of the room, are planning to resign. Don't resign. But statistically, half of you are ready to resign, okay? So half of your workforce has one foot out. 40% of the US workforce, the corporate world, have already left. 40% of the people that we trained to lead businesses, in the US at least, have already gone. But this is why I get up. This is why I get on another plane every week and fly around the world to meet people like you and do this work. Because 52% of us are lonely. Now, when you understand that loneliness is not a lack of people, we're always surrounded by people. It's a lack of connection. It's going through life, through work, and feeling that you don't have connections to the people around you. And statistically, loneliness will kill you. You will die 8 years earlier than your friends if you are lonely. According to the Surgeon General in the USA, being lonely is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Why? Why is all of this happening? Why are we so disconnected? Why is the human race so lonely? I believe it's because of this. We are living through an empathy deficit. We just don't understand each other enough. This was a term that was coined by President Obama in 2006, well before he was president, when he addressed his audience and he said, "I know I should be talking about the federal deficit, but I think we should talk about our empathy deficit." We did nothing about it for nearly 20 years. Now, I'm not going to talk about politics, but I would argue that if you turned on CNN and looked at the USA today, this is probably coming true. There is so much disconnection in our world. Races, ages, genders, cultures, religions. We don't understand each other. Not enough. Today, this is a trending conversation. So you may have come here today thinking, what's empathy got to do with anything? But if you Google it when you leave, empathy in anything that you are interested in, empathy in aviation, empathy in education or tech or parenthood, you will find content. Because the World Health Organization has declared this a global public health concern. The associated emotional well-being with this loneliness, as you can see here, is costing the Gulf $3.5 billion a year in lost opportunity. And I want to show you a letter. This letter was written by a mother, and it was written to the CEO of one of the big 5 consulting businesses in India in October last year. And she wrote to him, I still can't read this letter, and I presented it so many times. She wrote to him because her little girl, who was 23, died of overwork. So the mother wrote to the CEO, and she says here, "My heart aches not just for the loss of my child, but the lack of empathy in your business. How do we have young people coming to work until such a point that they die, and nobody noticed? We're not seeing our people, certainly not enough." And today, the good news is that this is a trending conversation. I get to join you here at OSHRM. I get to fly and meet business leaders around the world who are asking me, how do we fill the gaps? How do we create more empathy in our world? So if there's one thing that you remember before lunch, may it please be this. The things I'm talking about are not soft issues, whether we're talking about 23% higher profit, or whether we're talking about our young people falling sick. They're not soft issues, and therefore, they can never be soft skills. So if you came today thinking that empathy or emotional intelligence, communication skills are soft skills, please stop today. Because for as long as you go out there and propagate that language, you won't get the budgets you need to change your nations. These are hard skills. They're hard to find. My colleagues today have said that. They're very hard to master, and they're hard to find. It's why the top headhunters in all the major metropolises of the world today are looking for empathy in their top 5 skills of leaders. They may not always call it empathy. You may hear it as listening or emotional intelligence, connection. But they're looking for leaders, as you heard today to many of the colleagues on my stage, that understand their people. But we live in an AI-driven world. So how big is the problem Should you really be worried? Well, yes, because we've had 30 years of decline. Now, when you understand that empathy is a pro-social skill set, that means it keeps the human race alive. I'm not talking about thriving. I am definitely not talking about being nice. I'm talking about surviving. The human race needs to work together to survive, and yet for 30 years, we have seen a decline at nearly 50%. 50% of a skill set that we need to stay alive and that you need to run your businesses, to reach the profits and the growth that you want, to make sure that your young people don't fall into Costa's statistics this morning that said they're leaving after 18 months. They can't leave after 18 months. You've hardly taught them anything in 18 months. So it's a big problem. And the fourth industrial revolution, the one that we are in right now, yes, it's about tech, and yes, it's about AI, but more than that, it's about us. It's about people, the people behind the tech, the people leading with the tech. It is shifting who we lead and how we lead. For the first time in history, we have 4 generations in one workplace. And I can promise you, the people at the top and those at the bottom, they don't speak the same language. So how do we pull them together? How do we change this? Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft, often awarded the best CEO in the world, returned over $1 trillion to his shareholders in 3 years, knows what he's doing. He says this: most people think that empathy is something you reserve for your friends or family, but they're wrong. It's an existential business reality. If you want to improve innovation, you need empathy. If you want to improve performance, if you want to turn around attrition, if you want to shift your business, you need to understand your people. So let's talk about what it is. What is empathy?
Have you seen what it's like out there, Murray? Do you ever actually leave the studio? Everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy.
Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy. That's it. Organizational empathy is perspective taking. It's not about being nice. It's not about emotions. It's not about being kind. Please be kind, right? We want to be kind. But that's not what I'm teaching. This is about perspective taking. It's about knowing why the person you're sitting on a boardroom table with is responding the way they are. Why are they so worried about this new policy? Why is that person that you promoted doing less well after the promotion? Why? Empathy's understanding other people. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like it. You just have to understand it. And that is a superpower. And the wonderful thing is that you are not born with a set amount. Probably the question I get asked most is, but Mimi, maybe you just have more empathy than everybody else. It's not true. We all have the same amount of empathy. Your children were born with the same amount of empathy, and therefore, you can train it. This is a teachable skill. It will change your workplace. It is built into your brain, in the prefrontal cortex, to be specific. And when you get it right, there are 10s, but I put 5, key benefits. The first is multi-generational understanding. If you want to understand the older and the younger, you need to listen, you need to understand them. How are you ever going to motivate them if you don't understand them? I'll tell you a short story. I was in Europe recently doing some consulting work, and the HR team said to me, Mimi, we've got a really big problem. We're a 100-year-old company, and for all of those 100 years, when you reach senior director, you get given a car. We have a challenge. This year, when all the group reached senior director, and HR very proudly said, well done, here's your car, they all went, we don't want a car. And HR was like, well, what do you mean you don't want a car? They said, have you seen the state of global warming? We don't want to be part of it. We have no interest in adding more petrol to the environment. So HR left really confused. And I said to them, have you asked them? Have you sat and asked them what they would like? They said, well, no. I said, okay, well, perhaps start there. But before they did, the head of HR had what he thought was a really good idea. And he called a group in and he said, guys, we've solved it. We won't give you a car. We're going to give you bikes. And these guys just looked at him and said, I think you've misunderstood us. We don't want to impact the environment, but a car is worth $35,000 and a bike is worth $2,000. I'm not sure you've computed this right. It is a perfect example of generational gaps, well-intentioned communication that they just didn't understand. You will drive up your performance, your growth. You will impact engagement and motivation. I'll show you the data just now. Well-being. There is no yoga class or fruit bowl that will fix a lonely set of people. If I don't fit in, if I don't feel like you care, free bananas, not going to help. Sustainable well-being relies on empathy. And alignment of AR with all of your HR processes does too. Is this HR's most powerful tool? I think so. I call it listening-led leadership. And here's some of the data to show you what it does when you get it right. 76% of people say that their motivation is higher and that they are willing to work longer hours out of choice. They want to work those weekends for you. 76% is a big number. 79% say that they would change their role, their industry, and all of their experience just to find a leader that's listening to them. And this data set, by the way, was over 6,000 people. Big data. I would bet that you know people in your life who have quit their job recently. They just want to do something different. They just can't do corporate anymore. It's nearly 80% of people saying that they would leave. But when you get it right, you see engagement go up by 63%. You will see innovation go up by 48% because nobody's going to come up with great ideas if they think you're not listening. And you see output per capita go up by 34%. People work harder for longer hours with better outcomes when you listen to them. When they think that you're noticing, when they think that you're interested in their opinion, they speak more. You see psychological safety double. Your business will grow. And that is what I call listening-led leadership. Leadership that listens more than it speaks so that you can tailor that leadership to your people. In the end, the only way to decode multi-generationality, which, by the way, is a word not in the dictionary because I made it up, so don't take it as a brilliantly British word because it's not, but it does explain beautifully the situation we are in. If you want to decode all of those generations in your businesses here today, you need to listen. You need to start there. Because you know what? Expectations change, for sure. You heard about it this morning, right? What they want and how they want to work and the job titles they want change. Fads and trends and Instagram. But you know what doesn't change? Ever? whether you're 90 or 9, is the need to be heard. Because we are born with this need. If you go to lunch and nobody looks at you, nobody sees you, nobody talks to you, nobody passes you a plate, within 2 minutes, your body makeup will change. Physiologically, your body will change. Adrenaline will pump. Cortisol will enter your bloodstream. You might start to feel nauseous or shake or get a headache. Your body will respond physically. We need to be seen. How is it that we forgot that? When did the business world become only about the numbers? When did stress become so high that burnout is on the top of the agenda? I want to play you a video. This is my daughter. She's 7, and I make a lot of content to help the world understand empathy. And on this day, she came in to my shoot, to my photo shoot. It was completely unprepared. She said, "Mummy, why? Why don't I get to be on camera?" So I said, "Fine, come." She sat down, and this is what she said. Why do we listen to people?
We listen to people because when people are sad or when they're not happy, when they explain something to you, you have to listen, or else the people think that you're not listening to them.
What happens if you don't listen? How do they feel?
If you don't listen, they feel sad and they think you're not their friend.
They feel sad and they think you're not their friend. Guys, she's 7-year-old. She knows. How do we not know? Thank you. When you ask your children, try it tonight. Try it. Say to them, when I don't listen to you, how do I feel? I feel sad and that you don't want to be my friend. Now, of course, at work, it's not about friendship. We grow up, we understand. But the human sentiment is the same. If I work for a leader who doesn't listen, who doesn't value my opinion, who doesn't think that I'm amply welcome in those meetings, I think you don't care. I think you're not my friend. I'm going to go work for the competition. Our children know this, guys. How did we forget? Your children know this. And by the way, you have the power to change the future by ensuring that they don't forget. People come to me all the time and say, why is it that teenagers are so hard, right? Why do teenagers turn, they become 12 or 13 years old and they suddenly stop listening? And I say to them, well, did you listen to them for the first 12 years of their life? Who did they learn to not listen from? If you want to change the future, start with your children. My question to you is this: as HR specialists, as leaders of countries and businesses, how can you ever motivate anyone or lead any level of sustained performance if you don't understand people? How do you know what they want? How do you know what motivates them? How do you know what is their best? To lead, you need to first listen to your people, to your communities, to your children. My work is to travel the world and teach this, to teach this framework called the Allure framework that helps businesses like yours to practice this. Because it's a skill set, because it's built into your brain. There's 4 steps. I definitely don't have time to take you through them now, but I'll be outside later. And you can do this. All you need is the intention to do so. When you go to lunch, when you finish prayer, just listen a little more often and see how your life changes. Because when you ask people, and I've done it all around the world, when you feel heard, how does that affect your performance? How does it affect how you turn up at work? There's 6 things I hear all the time. I feel motivated, I feel loyal and trusted, valued, committed, and respected. And isn't that your entire HR strategy for the year? without spending $1. Listen to your people. You will change how they work for you. You will change how they live in Muscat and beyond. Because in the end, we all need to be heard. Empathetically led organizations make 23% higher profits. The future of AI relies on this. AI plus HI, human intelligence, is your ROI, your return on investment. In the world we live in, there is no other way. This is what I've told you today, that empathy is at the core of all organizational relationships. If you want to understand Gen Z, your young ones, your older ones, if you want to drive engagement or trust or performance, you have to start with empathy, with listening-led leadership, with knowing your people. So my question to you before you go to lunch is this: are you listening? Will you listen? Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to Mimi. All right, it's time for us to go for lunch. And as Mimi's daughter said, if you don't listen, I'll feel like you're not my friends. So you have 30 minutes, and I would appreciate if all of you can be back into the hall after 30 minutes. 30 دقيقة جماعة الخير ونرجع، لأن بالفعل عندنا كثير من المتحدثين بعد الغداء. فبإذن الله الحين it is 1:50، يعني على 2:20 تكونوا راجعين. أكون شاكر لكم، شكرا جزيلا.